This is a video on PLAVE'S lore and theory. It's a long ride, so sit back, relax, get some popcorn and put on our thinking cap. eunho, bambi, eunho, hamin. Originally, they are the main characters in their own respective webtoons. They were written by the same author who goes by the name of 3v3r. eunho is the main character from Today, I Am Seeing a Doctor. The webtoon has a unique worldview and it depicts daily life in a fantasy world in the form of a 4-panel toon. Noah is from a webtoon called Heart of the Moon. It's a fantasy genre centered around the use of magical power. This is also the reason why Noah can use magic. Bambi and eunho are from the same webtoon called Chroma Drift. The story is set in a dystopian cyberpunk megacity which deals with investigation of a criminal organization. Hamin is the main character of a martial art webtoon. However, it doesn't have a title because the webtoon was never released. All of 3v3r's works gained recognition and popularity. However, the webtoons were discontinued due to unknown reasons and the characters gradually became forgotten. Among other rumors, it was also speculated that 3v3r took a break from writing and learned coding with Tomorrow Learning Card. If you are interested to check out more details on 3v3r and the webtoons, you can visit this site. It's an official website developed by Blast and it's in Korean, but you can use the browser's translate function to translate it into English. There are 3 components that make up the virtual world where PLAVE lives. Terri is where humans like us live. When a Terran creates a character, the character will exist in a cube known as Vitax Cubo, which is located in Asterum. If the character receives enough love from Terrans, the cube will explode and head to caelum like a meteor. The explosion sometimes leaves behind debris and pieces of star shards around the surrounding area. The newly born characters will then become a resident of caelum where they will breathe and live their life. When characters die, they will return to Cube. Caelum is able to resurrect the dead characters to become its army, who will carry out caelum's will to reinforce order. They are also known as caligo. Thus, according to this worldview, eunho, Noah, Bambi, and eunho were all born and stayed in caelum. Meanwhile, hamin was never born because his webtoon was never published and wasn't able to receive Terran's love. 3v3r first created webtoon because he was inspired by an author known as Chidibak. 3v3r then debuted with Today, I Am Seeing a Doctor. It shows Blockbuster here because I used Google Translate and it translated the whole page. But I believe that Chidibak is a name because of the parenthesis. 3v3r established his writing style with Heart of the Moon and Chroma Drift. Chroma Drift was discontinued due to the site's financial difficulty. However, the reasons for discontinuation for his other webtoons were unknown. And it seems like all of his works disappeared from the sites, probably upon his request. The discontinuation led to the decrease of the character's popularity and soon received less and less love from Terrans. They were on the verge of disappearing. From the earlier section, we know that 3v3r took a break from writing and took a course with TLC to learn coding. And he eventually became a developer, but what had happened afterwards that he decided to pursue his webtoon dream again. Here's my theory. After 3v3r got a job, he found out that the person who once inspired him, Chidibak, was also in the same company, could be another worker, or straight up the CEO. As the idol of his youth, I think that 3v3r approached Chidibak to express his admiration and eventually told Chidibak of his webtoons. Chidibak then encouraged him to try and pursue his dreams again. Since their talk, 3v3r started to reminisce about his webtoons and all the characters he drew. He was once again inspired by Chidibak and decided to pursue his dreams. 3v3r revisited his unpublished work where the main character is hamin. He probably wanted to publish it as his comeback to the webtoon world. 3v3r is the word ever spelled with 3 instead of e. If it's flipped, it's spelled as rava, which means dreams and is the origin behind PLAVE's name. Now, why don't we take the idea of flipping and flip it in some other ways? What would happen if it's transformed? Let's see. Oh, the 3 looks like an M. Let's rotate it again. Now it looks like a W. But what's the significance of it? Firstly, in their Asterum trilogy, all of their title tracks start with a W, well except for the 6th summer, but that's also due to their lore. Furthermore, Their B-sides that are tied to their lore also start with a W. Secondly, we can also see the W shape in PLAVE'S season greetings and the recent Caligo Part 1 teaser. There are a lot more occasions where they show the W shape, but I think these two are enough to prove that W is an important thing in their concept. So what does W refer to? If we refer to their album, asterum is Latin for star. There must be a correlation with the stars, right? This is a map of constellations in the northern hemisphere. If we take a closer look at it, there's a constellation named Cassiopeia. It is well known with its W asterism, which is a shape formed by its 5 brightest stars. However, depending on the observer's location, Cassiopeia can also look like an M, or 3, similar to what we've discussed earlier. On the other side of the coin, in the southern hemisphere, there's a constellation called caelum. Its 4 brightest stars make a shape that looks like an incomplete W, as opposed to Cassiopeia. If we think about it, only 4 of the members had ever stepped foot in caelum, and there are 4 stars in caelum constellation, and all 5 of them are in asterum, and there are 5 stars in Cassiopeia. We can make an assumption that Cassiopeia is asterum and, well, caelum is caelum. To further strengthen this theory, let's take a look at a verse from Way for Love. Basically, this song about PLAVE going on a journey, and in this verse, they were listing things that they saw as they went by. A colorful rainbow within the stars, what might that be? Are they perhaps talking about this? This is a nebula, and it is located at Cassiopeia. Beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful like a rainbow. They also mentioned the Eiffel Tower, which we know is located in Terra. But there's actually an Eiffel Tower in the sky too. It's located near the Ursa Major, or also known as the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is usually referred to when a voyager is trying to find the North Star, Polaris. Another way to locate Polaris is by referring to Cassiopeia. It looks something like this. The reference to the Eiffel Tower is simply genius because it symbolizes Terra as the Ursa Major. And if we look at the full picture, Cassiopeia, which is PLAVE, and Ursa Major, which is plli, meet in the middle point, which is Polaris. Hence the line, smiling at the same time. Brilliant. If we look near Cassiopeia, there's a constellation called Lacerta. It is dubbed as the Little Cassiopeia due to its W asterism. Well, if Cassiopeia represents asterum and caelum represents caelum, does Little Cassiopeia represent anything? Could there be a possibility of the existence of a parallel asterum? If we look into a list of 3v3r's works, there's one that was discovered to have not been written by him, but instead it was a spin-off version made by a fan. It was referenced off of one of Chroma Drift's episodes, track 6, and the name of the spin-off version is 6th track. This fan-made spin-off version only had a few episodes and was released within a small community. Fans of Chroma Drift soon noticed the differences in art style and realized that it was not by the original author. 6th track, The Sixth Summer, compared to the rest of their music videos, it does have a different art style. And it's the only title track among the Asterum trilogy that doesn't start with a W. Furthermore, the theme in The Sixth Summer also revolved around parallel worlds and time loop. But we'll explore more of this in a later section. So if the 6th track is based off Chroma Drift, and the main characters are Bambi and Eunho, then there should be an alternate version of them. According to the law of the virtual world, characters that are created in Terra will be in a cube in Asterum. But if there's already the same character in caelum, what happened to the one in the cube? Where are they going to be born? I believe this is when a parallel world to Asterum comes into play. Sorta like this. To avoid confusion, I will address the original Bambi as Bambi, and the parallel Bambi as bonggu, which is Bambi's other name. My theory is that when bonggu was created, his cube appeared in parallel Asterum, along with Eunho. Since they're essentially the same characters, the parallel versions also received the same love and were soon born. However, they were born in the parallel Asterum instead of caelum. When bonggu and parallel Eunho were born, caelum detected the abnormality. To deal with this, caligo needed to be sent there to fix the abnormality. However, there was no obvious way to parallel Asterum. These 5 little cuties known as mumeimu were used as test subjects for the teleportation experiment. Mumeimu were unpopular characters that were gonna disappear soon. They are made up of data, pixels, and star shards. They have the ability to teleport, hence why they were used as test subjects. Around the same time when Yejin, Noah, Bambi and Eunho were being forgotten, the teleportation experiment succeeded when one of the mumeimu was teleported to parallel asterum. The one who got teleported was mumeimu. When caligo arrived in parallel asterum, I think that parallel eunho died while resisting. As for bonggu, since his data already exists in caelum, which is Bambi, if he was to be brought there, it would cause more abnormalities. So, caligo imprisoned him in a dream loop instead. At the same time, mumeimu sneaked out of parallel asterum to find a way to free the mumeimu brothers from being tortured by caligo. Eventually, he went to Terra, but because he was crossing over between two different worlds, it caused a rip in the spacetime continuum. The spacetime rip took place exactly above Hamin's cube. It made a loud sound and caused a ripple effect which woke Hamin up. And due to the ripple effect, star shards also travel into Hamin's vicinity. Were all these mere coincidences, or a coming fate set in motion? I have a theory on the events that transpired when mumeimu went to Terra, but I will get to that in a much later section. When Hamin woke up, his data popped up in the database. This caused a confusion to 3v3r. As 3v3r was going through his draft, Hamin's webtoon, he was surprised that the generator has already learned of Hamin's image even though he was never released to the public yet. As we can see here in his diary, on the 17th of November 2021, he noticed that Hamin's image frequency has been increasing. What this means is that his image is becoming clearer and clearer. A generator is a machine learning model. It is trained by feeding it a large database in which it will analyze and organize the data. It will generate new outputs based on users' prompts. Think of it like a secretary. A secretary attends meetings, writes down all information which will be organized later to make a report. The report is then produced and presented in an organized manner. Then, since the generator was able to produce Hamin's never-before-seen image, where did it learn it from? In order to understand this, 3v3r developed a language model to explain how the generator learned of Hamin's non-existent image. This is the language model developed by 3v3r. So, basically, the training generator learns from the database. It is trained to distinguish and process the data. Then, the generator will produce the output. 3v3r added metadata and xai into the equation. Metadata is a data that describes data. For example, if a dataset contains Bob, 10, male, then the metadata will describe it as name, age, gender. So, in this model, the raw data and generated data were input into the metadata which further refines the data. Then, training xai observes how the metadata handles the input data and studies its rationale. The xai then generates a comprehensible output to user. On the 14th of January 2022, 3v3r wrote in his diary that he had conversations with Hamin. Through the conversation, he came to know about the virtual world which are caelum and asterum. He also learned that unpopular characters will disappear. But how exactly did 3v3r and Hamin have conversations? Through what medium? On the 21st of January 2022, 3v3r wrote about interpreting a packet file. A packet file, or .pkt, is a network simulation file which contains network topology and simulated network activity. This is an example of a network topology. Does it remind you of something? Yep, the pattern is like the virtual world map that we know. This is most likely a virtual world topology sent by Hamin, and 3v3r came to know of its workings by looking at the simulation. This explains how 3v3r had conversations with Hamin. Communication through packet files is limited, thus 3v3r found a way on how to extract the files into text. The packet file that he extracted contained weird green lines that looked like alphabets of some kinds. 3v3r doesn't know it yet at this time, but this is actually the asterum language. This sentence means hello, I'm Hamin. On the 24th of February 2022, 3v3r wrote down in his diary that the characters he serialized in the past don't have much time to live. Then, 3v3r realized that despite him breaking out of his cube is a mystery, Hamin, who is in Asterum, might be a key to saving his characters. On the 25th of April 2022, 3v3r thought of a plan. He told Hamin to gather star shards to expand the rift between Terra and Asterum. Then, he will send a code that can transport the characters to Asterum. His hope is that the characters would be able to gain lots of love and will live an eternal life. And even though it's not webtoons, this second chance is also for 3v3r to redeem himself. Since then, Hamin had been gathering star shards and assembled them in the form of a cube. It was almost a year later in Terra time that he gathered enough star shards to further expand the rift between Terra and Asterum. And then, with the power of the star shards, it finally happened. On the other side of the world, 3v3r sent the code that he developed to the virtual world through the crack in spacetime. From now onwards, since it is going more of a storytelling, I'll pass the narrator baton to Grandpa.
In the Wait For You music video, it can be seen that their webtoon worlds are empty because all the other supporting characters already disappeared, leaving the main characters alone. There was nothing that they could do except to wait for a miracle. They were just existing from day to day until the day comes when they don't exist anymore. Until one day, when the rift expanded and the light from beyond Asterum illuminates the once dark space. The miracle that they have been waiting for finally arrived and greeted each of the characters with a hello. And with a push of a button, Plave was born. Do you remember Bonggu in Parallel Asterum, where he was imprisoned in a dream loop by Caligo? To further explore on that theory, when Bambi set foot in Asterum, he sensed Bonggu, and Bonggu also sensed Bambi. They somehow connected. They saw each other's memories, felt each other's emotions, and even the new memories that Bambi creates, Bonggu also sees them. Through this mysterious connection, Bambi realized that Bonggu had been suffering from being trapped in an infinite dream loop. Bonggu had no way to escape, and so Bambi told the other members about saving Bonggu and tried to locate him. However, where in the world does a dream exist? On 25th of May 2023, Plave released their first digital single Y. The song starts with a ringing sound, one which we usually hear when a call is not connecting.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
I think this ringing sound indicates that they haven't managed to locate or get in contact with Bonggu yet. Other than that, this song contains a lot of their inside jokes, which means that they're getting along well and are creating new memories with each other. And then, on 17th of July 2023, in the middle of summer, Noah dropped a cover of Betelgeuse. Basically, Betelgeuse is a dying star, but it's used as a symbol of hope in the song. Personally, I think that this song was a metaphor for Bambi and Bonggu, and Noah used his magical power to figure out how to save Bonggu. Because in this song, there's a line that talks about Betelgeuse being a magic that connects one to another. And then, when it was almost the end of summer, they finally figured out how to get to Bonggu. The answer was in front of them this whole time. Since Bonggu is in a dream loop, all they have to do is to enter the dream as well. And since Bambi is essentially Bonggu, they can establish the connection from Bambi's dream to Bonggu's dream. After Bambi fell asleep, Yejun, Noah, Eunho and Hamin entered his dream, and then Noah used his magical power to open a portal to Bonggu's dream. In the beginning of the 6th summer music video, Bonggu is shown to be waking up when the sunlight touches his face. But when he looked around, the classroom he was in was filled with water. There were a few more scenes like this where the sun shines, and then, not long after, water will fill up the space, drowning Bonggu. I think this is to show the dream loop that Bonggu has been trapped in, where he will suffer the pain of dying. But before he actually does, it restarts again. As Bonggu was staring at the sky that was clearing up, he saw birds flying by. It's the same birds that can be seen in Noah's place. And when he closes his eyes, he sees visions of him being together with the 4 of them, and that's when he knows that they have arrived in parallel asterum. Since the visions are located at school, Bonggu hurriedly ran there to see them. However, much to his despair, the classroom was empty. What happened was, when Yejun, Noah, Eunho and Hamin first stepped foot into parallel asterum, they were separated into different dream loops and got stuck in it. Yejun was at the train station, Noah was at the school rooftop, Eunho was at the school gym, and Hamin was in the outskirts of the city. Although they were in different space-time, they have one thing in common, and that is the rain. The rain indicates darkness and blurriness. In order to escape the loop, they need to find the light. But what exactly is the light? In the music video, when the rain stops and the sky becomes clear, it showed a brief second of a butterfly on a marigold flower. In one of PLAVE'S live stream, Yejun explained that the marigold has 2 meanings. First is a goodbye to a friend, and second is for happiness that is to come. When we say goodbye, it means we're leaving everything in the past. And for happiness that is to come means being hopeful towards the future. Much like a dream. Dream encompasses both the past and the future. Like a dream about past memories or a dream for a hopeful future. However, one thing that it is not is the present. Now, this is not a bad thing per se. However, if we are trapped in an endless dream, we will just be going back and forth between the past and the future. Then, in what moment are we truly alive? The eternity that they once desired is now nothing but a curse. Time doesn't move in eternity, so they only have past memories to hold on to, or a hope for a future that won't come. Furthermore, in the music video, there were 2 scenes that show the concept of past and future. Some palace deduced that this scene of Hamin standing looking at the city is actually in the past. This is because the model of this car here is from 2017. However, the poster behind Bonggu in this scene is about COVID precautions. We all know that COVID didn't happen until 2020. So, these confirmed that the idea of past and future is in play. Thus, to escape the dream loop, they need to be in the present. They need to grasp the moment. This is the light that they were searching for, and did find many times, but failed to grasp before. Like catching the brief moment of a butterfly on a marigold, and then they finally escaped and reunited with Bonggu in the music room, because music was what connected PLAVE in the first place. Right after their rendezvous, we can hear the sound of trains moving. This is to symbolize that they are now moving with time, by being in the present. Speaking about trains, there's a double meaning to it, but we will dive on that topic later. After experiencing the horrible dream loops, Yejun, Noah, Eunho, and Hamin realized that they need more than just dreams. They need something to anchor them down from falling victims to dreams again. They needed reality to balance the dreams and keep them safe. To this, Bonggu showed them something. If we look at their video shorts, Bonggu is seen dancing in front of a tree. At the beginning of the video, he held his hands up like signaling someone to come there. That tree, which I will refer to as the Tree of Love, is the symbol of dreams and reality being one. The tree's roots keep it firm on the ground, while the trunk will grow tall towards the sky. The tree is their anchor that they need to find in asterum. Yejun, Noah, Eunho, and Hamin's mission is to save Bonggu. Bonggu himself couldn't escape the dream loop because he has no reality that he can actually hold on to. The most that the members could do is to give a new ending for Bonggu. Instead of suffering from drowning every loop, they create new memories together with Bonggu. Good memories in which will become his world, where he lives in for as long as the loop continues. After they successfully left Bonggu with the music band ending, the alarm clock went off and woke Bambi up. Thus, Yejun, Noah, Eunho, and Hamin also went back to asterum. Let's move on to their final Asterum Trilogy album. To start off, their first song in the album is Watch Me Woo. This also contains the W shape, as we discussed earlier, and not just that, but it's flipped 2 times, from W to M and to W again. The repeated flipping reminds me of a mirror. So, what is actually the context of this song? W, as we've established before, is Cassiopeia, which refers to asterum, where Plave lives in. But it can also be Little Cassiopeia, which refers to parallel asterum, where Bonggu stays. Watch Me Woo as a whole describes their experiences in parallel asterum. And apart from the dream loop, I believe that Bonggu warned them about a certain creature called caligo. So, in short, when the first W is flipped to M, that is to symbolize that Bonggu is relaying information to Plave. In the first verse of this song, they mentioned about getting stuck in a roulette, a spinning problem. Sounds familiar, right? Like when they got stuck in the dream loop. Then the next line said that they wanna touch the moon. I believe this is the same as when we say, reach for the star, which means that we want to achieve the impossible. But because they are in asterum, they changed it to moon. So, what is it that Plave wanted? If we refer to the 6th summer, Plave desired eternity, and they literally touched it. Thus, the last line of verse 1 in Watch Me Woo, then, in verse 2, Bonggu told them that the world is all lies, which means that not everything is what it seems like. Even the dreams that they thought were pure can turn into nightmares. And then the second line mentioned red eyes. Bonggu was giving them warning to beware of the red eyes creature known as caligo. It was them who imprisoned him in the first place. This was also the first ever mention of caligo in any song, and in the 6th summer's teaser, there was a picture of Bambi, or rather bonggu, with a red eye. I believe that this symbolizes his knowledge of caligo. Then bonggu talked about freedom, of being free from caelum's will. He advised them that this precious life that they were given contains meaning to it. So he told them to pursue the truth, because that's the only way to free themselves of caelum and live peacefully in asterum. But what is this truth? I believe that this is about finding the tree of love, which we talked about previously. The moment Plevi finds the tree of love, everything will be all right. Choreo-wise, this is when Noah kisses Bambi. This part of the choreography is very important. The kiss is a turning point. Previously, we discussed about W being flipped to M, which is when bonggu teaches Plave about everything. When Noah kisses Bambi, that is the moment when the M is being flipped to W, which means that now Plave is teaching Bambi about what they have learned in parallel asterum. If we look at the complete picture, if M is a mirror, then it's basically from bonggu to Bambi. Interestingly, after the kiss, they did a mirror choreography. In another performance, they changed it up a bit, where Bambi kissed Noah instead of the opposite. I know this is for performance's sake, but I think it also symbolizes the part where bonggu teaches Plave. Another mirror-like incident is their thumbnails for Watch Me Woo. Hamin mentioned in a live stream that it was funny how they all got the ending pose wrong, but I think that this was intentional. Other than this, there's also a video where they showed the behind the scene before their performance. In the video, Noah kept looking at himself in the mirror. The majority of the time, it was him and Bambi in the mirror. But what caught my attention the most was when Noah got up from his seat and Bambi was left staring at himself in the mirror, as if he was looking at bonggu. But why Noah? I kind of think it's because he was the one who opened the portal between Bambi's dream and bonggu's dream. So he's sort of like the mirror between them. In verse 3, Eunho's rap also describes their experiences of being trapped in the dream loop and how desperate they were to escape. If we look at the second to last line, he mentioned that time is gold. So, what if we replace the word gold in line 1 and 3 to time? It becomes time's getting bigger. When something is getting bigger, it means that something is getting nearer. And time on my neck means that the time is really, really close to him. This also has a nuance of feeling threatened by time. But why were they feeling like this? Since bonggu's dream is in summer, it's highly likely that it is only accessible during summer. And since summer was nearing the end at that time, they became very desperate to escape after failing a few times. This desperation is expressed with the phrase drop of sweat, as in the 6th summer, or sweat drop, as in this rap verse by Eunho. And interestingly enough, in the 6th summer music video, it was Eunho that sweated a lot, and his rap describes exactly that. Shining 24/7 describes a few things. The first one is obviously gold. The highest carat of gold is 24K, hence the 24/7, and a 24K gold is considered 100% gold. A white gold refers to platinum, which is much more expensive than gold. On the surface, he is bragging about all the hanging gold on his neck, but Eunho also referred to gold as time. So, on a deeper level, it means that his neck feels so heavy, like being held down and stressed by time. And the word shining refers to his sweat drops on his neck. Because in the bridge of the 6th summer, there's a line that says, the miracle of teardrops that shine brightly. It doesn't say sweat drop, but both are results of desperation. The shining sweat drops can also be seen in a lot of scenes in the Sixth Summer music video. Then, on the last line, the high-end toys refer to gold. In the sense of time, it means that he was playing a risky and intense game, with time that it drove him to madness. I'm sure you noticed this, but Bambi only had 2 lines in the whole Watch Me Woo song. He's not even in the chorus, and he usually sings in choruses in other songs. This is because he was listening to what the other members had to say. The chorus is just a repetitive Watch Me lines, which is very addictive, to be honest, as if the members are saying, watch, listen and learn. The information they were relaying to him would determine between their life and death, so they emphasized on it a lot. Thus, this song is a proof of PLAVE'S realization to search for the truth, aka the tree of love. PLAVE now understands that to make their dreams come true, they need to find their reality, which is please love. This is in the form of a tree, the tree of love, so that they won't fall victim and be trapped in dreams again. In the beginning of Way 4 Love music video, there's a board that looks like they're trying to locate the tree of love. They haven't got a clue until one day, when Noah was strolling outside, a debris of a star shards from a meteor fell near his vicinity. Then he hurriedly teleported to the living room where the other members were and showed them what he found. When they all look at it together, the star shards cube morphed into a shape of love and flew outside the window. PLAVE put on their best outfit in case they meet please and followed the love shard. PLAVE expressed their desire to meet please throughout the whole song. That even if it's a lie, they want to believe. When the love shard kept bringing them to places they've already been, places they've already checked, as we've seen on their board at the beginning, they don't want to lose hope. Instead, it actually strengthened their determination even more. In verse 1, they talked about when they were young. They were fueled with dreams and ambitions, and it grew a flower within them. It is the same flower as in the Sixth Summer and Wait for You, the flower that holds both their memories and hopes to achieve their dreams. However, along the way, the flower faded as the dreams that they once had were being slowly forgotten, just like how they were too, slowly fading out of existence. But as they continued following the love shard and passing through all the places that held their memories, it reminded them of their once fiery hearts burning with desires and dreams. This spark was what strengthened their resolve to find please love, even if the love shard brought them into the middle of nowhere. They trusted that one piece of love shard, that one piece of please love. PLAVE embarked on a journey with no clear destination, yet it was filled with excitement and anticipation. Then, after the sun had set and everything became dark, they arrived at a vast ocean with nothing but the moonlight. And in the middle of that nothingness was the fallen meteor, shining brighter than any lights they have ever seen. The trust they put in that one debris of please love did not disappoint them. They knew they could trust Pli. The truth that they have been searching for all this time is now in front of their eyes. This is the moment that PLAVE meets Pli, where dreams meet reality. A place where our journey together will continue, built upon love and trust, in a live stream Noah explained about the meteor crate. It is the place where an island will take form and the tree of love will stand tall. Such as our relationship, it's firm, strong, and will only continue to grow. A beautiful movie-like story. The name of this album is Asterum 134-1. The 134-1 refers to the coordinate of the meteor. Hamin once jokingly said that the 134-1 actually has a meaning. Each of the numbers correspond to the alphabets in the Korean alphabet chart. If we refer to the chart, 1 is G, 3 is D, and 4 is R. So, 134-1 is GDRG, which makes up the initials for their debut song, Wait For You. This is meant to say that at the coordinate, Please Love is waiting for Plave. However, little did they know that calamity was also waiting for them there. From afar, they were being watched by Caligo, Caelum's army that Bonggu warned them about. On 17th of July 2024, Bambi dropped a cover of Pretender. This is exactly a year after Noah's cover of Betelgeuse, which I believed was about finding Bonggu. Pretender is a song about not being able to be with someone and wishing for a circumstance that would allow them to be together. During the bridge, Bambi tweaked the lyrics. It says, "If I could live in memories that seem to overflow, only a passing trace will remain." It can be interpreted as only existing in someone's memories. Since Bonggu couldn't receive Terran's love anymore, he was going to disappear soon. So, this song is him telling Bambi that he doesn't have long to live. Apart from being essentially the same person, another similarity that they have is that they both want to be free of the past. Bonggu was trapped in the dream loop his whole life, and he never got the chance to actually live. And since he's going to fade away soon, he wished for Bambi to remember him. In Chroma Drift, Bambi suffered a lot from losing colleagues, and it left a deep trauma in him. He wanted to move on from all of these, but his past is tying him down. In the Wait For You music video, Bambi was seen dancing in something that looks like a wrecked train. Like in the 6th summer section, the train represents movement of time. However, since Bambi had a hard time accepting his past and moving on, the imagery of him dancing on a wrecked train symbolizes that he is dwelling on the past. In another scene, Bambi was just sitting at the train station while the train was moving. I think this is to signify that while everything around him went on, he remained static, trapped in his past. Just like Bonggu, but under different circumstances. In the 6th summer, the train was not shown directly. Instead, it was just the train station and the sound of the train moving. Since these were in Bambi's and Bonggu's dream, I think it expressed their inner desire to be free from their pasts. Then, in Pretender, when Bonggu's end was near, he revealed to Bambi about his longing for a life where he could live in the moment, a life where he could look back to his bright memories, a life where he could look forward to a promising future. But now, all he wished for is to be remembered, to be alive in the traces of overflowing memories. In the music video of Pretender, it was a scene from the inside of a moving train going around a town. It encapsulated everything that Bonggu ever wanted. At the same time, in Asterum, Plave was under attack. In the teaser of Pump Up the Volume, there was a newspaper with the headline that says Downtown Bombing. This means that ever since Plave was found by Caligo, they weren't safe. After they lost their home due to the bombing, Plave ran to a deserted place, bringing their radio equipment with them. This is because they were trying to get in contact with Terrans to ask for help so that they can rebuild their home. Near the end of the music video, they were playing instruments as they were in the teasers. This also reminds me how they were playing instruments in the sixth summer. Could it be that this song is a gift for Bonggu? In that case, PUTV was the final memory that Bonggu saw before he completely disappeared. There were also scenes where Bambi played his guitar solo in front of all the other members. Perhaps Bambi was playing in Bonggu's stead to honor him, and this was their way of saying goodbye.
사랑해 말하지 못한 날 이제 난 널 이렇게 전할래 내 맘 그곳에 기다려준 너에게 난 말할게 영원히 숨이 차 말하지 못한 날 이제 난 널 이렇게 전할래 내 맘 그곳에 너를 향해 달려갈게 진심이야.
However, in January 2025, there was a hidden message left in the LMS website. The message says, "Find me in summer." Aside from hinting at their summer comeback, story-wise, it has to be Bonggu related, right? But our assumption now is that Bonggu is already gone. So, there are a few possibilities that this message could be pointing to. We will discuss this in a later section. The sentence before us means everything is according to Caelum's will. Yes, Caelum is like a being of its own. As we've discussed in the beginning, it resurrects dead characters to be its army, known as caligo. So, why is Caelum after Plave? What did they do? This is because Plave broke the rules of the virtual world. They were supposed to disappear like other characters did. But the trajectory of their fate changed when they were transported to Asterum. They gained a second chance at life, and Caelum sees it as an abnormality. Thus, Caligo was sent to reprimand Plave. However, to completely return everything to the way it was, Caligo's task was also to destroy everything that Plave had built in Asterum. Hence why they bombed Plave's home before. But with the love from Terrans, they managed to build their home back up, and this time they made preparation in case of a second attack. The bond between Plave and plli is so profound that it brought an abundance of blessings. Everything that came to be was a result of this deep understanding and trust. And Plave was not just going to let Caligo destroy all of that. Please Love opened their eyes and made them realize that life is a gift and it is worth protecting. Especially after Bonggu's death, is it such a grave sin to want to love and be alive? After losing popularity, they felt lost and hopeless. Rains, fogginess, and broken hearts were all that haunted them. Everything was so gloomy that they never once cared to even look up and gaze at the heavenly lights, and much less to even pursue love. However, after becoming Plave, Ple's affection changed their entire perspective on life, as it was that loving gaze which rescued them out of their inescapable cruel fate. Ple's existence painted their once black and white world with bright colours and lights. For as long as they have been alive, that was the first time they have ever experienced such a wonderful miracle. If they would have to go through those hopeless waiting days again, they would, because they know that Ple's love transcend everything, that those dreadful days become so insignificant, almost like it never even happened. The support and love from PLI's sparked a fire in each of their hearts. It ignited new hopes and encouragement for PLAVE to live to their utmost potential, and most importantly, to be happy. Of course, they had doubts at first whether PLAVE and PLI could get along together or not. But they took the chance, and now it's undeniable that the two are a perfect fit, like puzzle pieces forming a complete picture. In Way for Love, we discussed PLAVE's journey on searching for PLI's love, star shards, where they eventually arrived at a vast sea with nothing in sight. Ironically, it was at that emptiness where they found the meteor crate full of star shards, which later formed the island that PLAVE is singing this song at. This special island tells the stories of the past and carries our hope for a radiant future. Just like how the tree of love has taken roots deep into the ground, the memories and hopes sowed a firm resolve into their hearts to protect those which they cherish. Chroma Drift is the name of the webtoon, where Bambi and Eunho were the main characters. The song is set in the mega city of Maracaibo, where Detective Bambi and Detective Eunho were stationed at. Generally speaking, just like Island, Chroma Drift is also about traversing past memories, where it is more focused on the members looking at their past selves. On a more specific note, this song illustrates the inner mind of Eunho, as he is looking at the bright city in front of him. It makes sense because he is the main character of Chroma Drift. But what kind of thoughts could be crossing his mind? In the chorus, it says that he found the unfamiliar feeling that he was drawn to. I believe that the unfamiliar feeling refers to tranquility and calmness. These types of feelings are unfamiliar to Eunho because of his cruel and harsh past. Yet, here he is standing quietly, just looking at the city that witnessed everything he ever went through. These are pages of comments from fans of Chroma Drift regarding the webtoon found in the LMS website. Eunho was a test subject in a laboratory somewhere in Maracaibo since he was very young. Due to being experimented, he became an enhanced human who can wield firepower. The society looks at people like him as monsters. To avoid being discriminated against, he hid his identity and thought that he had found freedom. However, not everything is what it seems like. In the same laboratory where Eunho was experimented at, there's a character named Terri. He and Eunho are of the same type. Both are enhanced humans. However, in the webtoon, Terri was involved in the criminal organization that Bambi and Eunho were tasked with. However, he has already disappeared long ago and returned to the form of Cube. In verse 2, as Eunho was drifting down his stream of memories, the images of him being experimented on popped up, and it tormented him so. Yet, all of that was in the past, and he is just standing quietly looking at the bright city. Let's recall what we have ventured on previously about the constellations and its significance in PLAVE'S lore. To start with, the A to T means asterum to terra, which refers to the verse in Way for Love, describing their journey across the star. PLAVE symbolized PLI in Terra as the Eiffel Tower asterism, which is located near Ursa Major. Polaris is the middle point where Cassiopeia meets Ursa Major, or where PLAVE meets Plei. Another interesting thing about Cassiopeia, Ursa Major and Polaris is that these three are also called the celestial clock. This is because both Ursa Major and Cassiopeia revolved around Polaris exactly like a clock. The only difference is that it goes counterclockwise. Now, let's compare the image with the official video's background. Is it a coincidence how it is so similar? I don't think so. However, the time that the clock hands are showing is around 12:29, 3 minutes before 12:32. That reminds me, 3v3r came up with his name because of the number 3 too. According to an interview, he chose the name 3v3r because the distance between V and R on the keyboard is 3. There's a lot of number 3 involved in Plave's Lore, huh? In the chorus of this song, there's a line that says, "Be in the moment." We have already discussed in the 6th summer section how important it is to be in the moment, or be in the present. And this was expressed through the idea of moving with time. As we can see in the video, the clock hands move along with the song, which also visualizes the moving with time concept. And they want plli to be right here, right now, together with plave. This is also why the song is 12:32. When the time is at 12:32, the clock hands are in a straight line, which implies that we are seeing each other eye to eye. We know that we are together in the moment, and we know that we are on the same side. Thus, the resolve to protect each other is much stronger, and we become more resilient towards any incoming challenges. However, in this song, Plave emphasized that they will protect us because plli is essentially the reason for their existence. They want us to let them protect us this time, just as we have always protected them. Now, at the height of crisis, they want to be our comfort, our cozy resting place. Pleas have become Plave's greatest strength, and this exact strength is what they need to face, caligo. Ever since Caligo's first attack in summer last year, Plave has been making preparations in case they get attacked again. Hamin informed 3v3r about the bombing, and they worked on an automated emergency procedure. When the time comes, Hamin will execute the plan and transmit information to 3v3r. At the same time, all of Plave members have also been training both their physical and mental to be prepared for a full-on war and engage in combat any time. On the other side, Caligo has been trying to locate the Plave members. This is because Plave hid their location after the first attack with the help of 3v3r. Apart from that, Caligo is also able to hack Asterum servers to find out more information about Plave's whereabouts. On 31st of January 2025, when they were doing their regular live stream, it was suddenly cut off and showed a message from Caligo at the end. This scene was included in the music video, and we came to know that this was when Caligo launched their attack after they uncovered Plave's whereabouts. At that time, Eunho was reminiscing his past while listening to Chroma Drift, when suddenly Caligo teleported to his coordinate. Caligo then revealed his face, in which Eunho seemed delighted. In their live stream, Eunho confirmed that the Caligo general was Terri, the superhuman with electric power. In Chroma Drift, Terri was a vital supporting character, because he was the one who indirectly helped Bambi and Eunho to overcome their pasts. In the webtoon, Terri was a part of the criminal organization that Bambi and Eunho were investigating. He and Eunho were both experimented on when they were young and became superhuman. But as they experienced the harsh world they were living in, they chose different paths to pursue freedom. Eunho became a detective, whereas Terri associated himself with a criminal organization. As fate intended it to be, they crossed paths again at the intersection of freedom. Eunho and Terri clearly had so much history together, from being test subjects to being discriminated against by society. They understood each other's pain. But much to Eunho's despair, Terri has turned into a mindless caligo. The hope of them being on the same side has completely vanished. As Eunho fell on the ground, so did his heart. As Caligo was destroying Asterum, Yejun, Noah and Bambi, who were doing broadcast at that moment, realized what was happening and immediately ran to the forefront to protect their home. They managed to kill a lot of the Caligo armies. However, after suffering a lethal blow from Terri, Yejun lost consciousness. Witnessing this, Bambi attempted to ambush Terri, but Terri swiftly grabbed him by his neck and knocked him onto the concrete ground. Noah, who was left alone, didn't have much physical strength, so he easily faltered from an attack. In another space, Caligo also stepped into Hamin's Vitaex Kubo and ambushed him there while he was working on some codes. However, as a character who is from a martial arts webtoon, he defeated every single Caligo that went in. As he quickly grasped the direness of the situation, he immediately executed the emergency procedure and successfully sent all files to 3v3R. Then he rushed out to the other members to help protect Asterum. However, the locator failed to detect the members' accurate coordinate. I believe that Dash is about Eunho, coming to terms with reality and him embracing his true self. He has been searching for freedom his entire life, and he finally saw a faint ray of light in the darkness that he has been trapped in. However, if he doesn't grasp it now, it will be too late because time doesn't stop for no one, and it's freaking running out. If he doesn't make peace with his true self, his friends will die in the hand of Caligo, and he will not let that happen again. This time, the ending will be different. Eunho, you are not a monster. You are a shining existence. Interestingly, during this exact saying, the choreo was an imagery of someone being stabbed. In their live stream, lyrically, Noah explained that because the person is a shining being, he can overcome anything in front of him. While choreo-wise, Hamin explained that the person being stabbed is to show that evil was being removed from his heart. Both of these actually apply to the situation Eunho was in. The answer he had been looking for was inside of himself this whole time. He just had to accept himself. Upon coming to this realization, Eunho dashed out to save Asterum and to confront his past. Without hesitation, he released his true power and defeated all the approaching obstacles. His target was Terri, or rather, the mindless Caligo, who looks like Terri. They both rushed towards each other, and as they were exchanging blows upon blows, Eunho and Terri were shining. The only difference was that Eunho found his freedom while Terri had fallen to the darkness. I could imagine the anguish in Eunho's heart as they were fighting. Was Eunho perhaps, was he trying to save Terri? To free him from the darkness in his heart? Just like what Hamin said? But alas, in the end, Terri exploited Eunho's vulnerability and delivered the final blow. As everything started to seem hopeless, Hamin finally arrived and noticed that he was the only one left standing. When he saw that his brothers were unconscious on the ground surrounded by destruction, Hamin was mad. PLAVE will soon debut with a Japanese debut title Kakarenbo. It means hide and seek. This is a summer song which reminds me of the message left on the LMS website, Find Me in Summer. Looking through the teaser, one thing that caught my attention was the fact that Bambi rides the train. We have discussed before this how trains symbolize the concept of moving with time, or moving forward, and how both Bonggu and Bambi were related to this. Let's further explore on this matter. Regarding this message, we need to consider a few possibilities. First, since our assumption now is that Bonggu has already disappeared, this message could be a fragment of his last memory before he completely disappeared. It could contain clues on caligo or caelum, or something that would help PLAVE to overcome the crisis. Second, the message is not from Bonggu, but from someone else, aka a new ally. It could even be Terri, who is actually trying to free himself from being a caligo. Third, Bonggu is still alive and he escaped the dream loop. However, he is currently hiding from caelum's radar. If he is alive, it means that some of the Terran's love during Pump Up the Volume went to him, which aided his escape. Thus, he sent an encrypted message for PLAVE to have a secret rendezvous with him. Let's consider the possibility where Bonggu is gone. Bonggu's death affected Bambi the most because he could feel his emotions and understood his wish of wanting to escape the dream loop, of wanting to be in the moment. In this regard, they both have the same wish. Bambi, too, wants to be able to move on, move forward with time. Thus, the significance of Bambi riding the train is huge. It means that he finally had the courage to be present in the moment and look forward to the future. It was not just for himself, but also for Bonggu's sake as well. Now, if we consider the third possibility, the significance of Bambi or Bonggu riding the train has two meanings. For Bambi, it means the same thing as escaping from his past and moving forward with time. And for Bonggu, it symbolizes his escape from the dream loop, because now he is finally moving with time. Furthermore, the background in this picture is awfully similar to the one when they were playing instruments in the 6th summer. So, I'm pretty sure it will have Bonggu-related info, at least if not an unexpected plot twist. Anyway, whichever is correct, I'm sure it will help PLAVE to come up with the next step to make their dreams into reality. Do you still remember the theory about Mumeimu going to Terra and causing the space-time to rip in, which the after effects of it woke hamin up? By the way, I totally didn't plan for Mumeimu's section to be chapter 11.1. Wink, wink. Hamin's birthday, wink, wink. Anywho, let's try to theorize what happened to him while he was in Terra. In one of PLAVE's magazines, it was mentioned that when Caligo was doing experiments on the Mumeimu brothers, Mumeimu was the first one to be transported to Asterum. He was transported at 11:01 on the 32nd of December, or in other words, 12:32 and hamin's birthday. I believe that these detailed info are no mere coincidences, since the 12:32 song is to signify the connection between Asterum and Terra. Then perhaps Mumeimu played a part in connecting it via the space-time rip that came to be because of him. And the awfully detailed time of arrival at 11:01 is parallel to hamin's birthday, because he accidentally woke hamin up at that moment. So, what could probably happen to Mumeimu while he was in Terra? He knows that in order to be free from caelum, they will need strong allies. While he was there, he came to understand that caelum is a virtual world, and he's one of the many characters out there. And since he can dig out data, He went through here and there to search for characters that can deal with criminal organizations, aka caligo. Eventually, he discovered chroma drift, so he went back to Caelum to search for these characters. Unfortunately, he was caught before he could find Bambi and Eunho. Mumeimu didn't want to give up, so he informed his mumeimu brothers about chroma drift and his plan to free themselves from Caelum. Along the way, they came across 3v3r and his other works. They know that it's better to have more allies, so they began researching Yejun and Noah's webtoon too. Mumeimu did their research all the while being test subjects. After years of extensive research, they discovered one day that the people they have been looking for were no longer in Caelum, but in Asterum instead. So, when they were sent to Asterum through the experiment, they went into hiding. After they found each other, Mumeimu then travelled together to find Plave. Fortunately, they were found by Alpaca and Pojingie and were brought to Noah's castle. Noah revealed in a live stream that Mumeimu were covered in dust and dirt when they first came to Noah's castle. So, Yejun gave them a bath and cleaned them up and became the cute creatures we now know. After coming into contact with Plave, Mumeimu told them about everything that has happened on their side. Then, with Meomi as the president, they set up the Lost Media Society website to relay clues and information as well as to gather more allies. Aka, please. To avoid suspicion from Caelum, they set up LMS as a fake club in Seonghui Arts High School, which is located in parallel Asterum. In the beginning, we discussed the possibility of Chodibak being the one who encouraged 3v3r to continue pursuing his dreams. But is there any clue to who Chodibak is? Let's listen to Virtual Idol. As per my limited knowledge of the Korean language, whenever you say imnida, it means that you are stating something. For example, your name. What if instead of everyone it's amazing, it's actually everyone I'm Debak? Everyone I'm Cho Debak. Because the CEO's nickname, William, also starts with a W, and we know it's that W is an integral concept to Plave. Absolute cinema. If you are still watching, thank you for staying till the end. I hope you enjoyed this video